I'm Jim Lehman. Grew up in rural Alabama, farm boy, very blessed to have great parents, great country, great God. We didn't have a lot else. Hand-me-down clothes from my older cousins, and then I was to take care of them in order to pass those on to my cousins below me. Hard work, you had your chores every day. You had to complete both before going to school and after school. Always in sports. If there was a ball around, I wanted to be involved in it. From baseball, basketball, football, etc. Loved horses growing up. Did a lot of horse shows, a little rodeo, things like that you'd naturally do in rural Alabama. Hunting, fishing, living off the land. Loved to get out and be amongst the great American countryside that we've got in this country. Well, growing up, understood the value of hard work, no handouts. Everything you got, you earned. Allowance, for certain chores growing up. And of course, to find ways to give 10% of that, always from day one. Both my grandmothers, very strong in giving back, both strong in the church. Always told to treat others the way you want to be treated. That was a core value taught early on. Not to get pushed around, but to treat others the way you want to be treated. To be a gentleman, always to understand the value, though, of working with your hands and people that work with their hands. To be able to understand that all things just don't magically happen. Everything that gets built in one way or the other, that people put their minds to that. They study for that. They go to school for that. Or they just learn the trade themselves from being passed on from their parents or those around them. So first job, my uncle raised horses, and he needed someone to help clean out the stalls. So either before school, after school, whichever day it fit best in the schedule, I would clean those stalls out. He gave me a quarter per stall. My grandmother, who lived very close by, literally a few hundred yards, had some beautiful flowers and things of that nature around her house. My grandfather had passed on. And she said, Jim, got an idea. That manure that you're shoveling down there in the horse stalls, I think that would go well around my rose beds. Okay, for my grandmother, I'd do anything. She's just an amazing woman, like my mother, angels on earth. So she didn't just want it placed around. It needed to be finely ground to a certain specification to satisfy her for those rose beds. It was a kind of an entrepreneurial spirit born pretty early there, because I got another quarter for taking the manure that was disposable and turning it into fertilizer. Proud to say my grandmother had the best rose gardens in all of the city that we lived in. What I want to impart to young people today is the value of hard work and the value of self-sufficiency. Do not assume there's going to be a hammock there. Do not assume there's others, there's government. You need to save, you need to work hard, you need to focus your life on ensuring that you can provide for yourself and for those around you, your family, and not just your immediate family, but those around you, your parents, your grandparents, your cousins. You need to be able to be the martyr of the family. Be the one who stands out. Be the one who works extra hard. So I was fortunate to put myself through college on an ROTC scholarship. Great mentorship there. There was a full colonel who had just returned from Vietnam. And this guy he had come up through the ranks. He went through OCS, Officer Candidate School. He went there and enlisted. One of the strongest men mentally that I've ever come across. He saw the horrors of Vietnam, lived to tell about it, but he also wanted to impart that to the officer corps that he was training in ROTC. When I first arrived, I said, Colonel, in the discussions, that he would ask, well, what do you want to be in the military? What is your aspirations? Well, I want to be the best officer I can be for the men under my care. I'm in civil engineering school. I want to be in engineering, obviously, in the military. I want to see the world. So, well, Jim, we need engineers. He knew I was playing football for Coach Bryant at the time, and he said, we need strong leaders. Coach Bryant puts a lot of them on the field every day, and I'm looking forward to you growing up under him and seeing what's happening here on the military side. So this guy was really keen on helping officers under his watch understand the value of your troops, of your men, and your material, and your ammo, and your weaponry. So fortunately, I made a good soldier. I graduated in the top, I forget, 5-10% of my class. But anyway, the commission was a regular Army commission into the military, same as if gone to West Point, because that was bestowed upon you in ROTC in those days if you graduated in that top echelon. Therefore, you got your choice of assignments to the degree that the Army could, in fact, accommodate you, and they did. So I went to engineering officer school in Fort Belvoir, Virginia. Again, with the regular Army commission, the military pushes you hard. They said, Jim, I think you need to go to airborne school. Well, sir, why in the hell would I want to jump out of perfectly good airplanes? Well, you need to learn that. You need to be elite. Well, let's think about this. So as we got to the end of the training there at Army Officer School for engineers, we had a 1 week before graduation, little ceremony at the Officers Club, and again, beautiful place overlooking the Potomac and looking over to D.C., and probably had one bourbon more than I should have, and I actually signed up with the captain that was training us. He was smart, he knew what he was doing. He was buying the drinks, and he had a few more slots he needed to get signed up for airborne school. So I signed up, and the next thing I found myself in the scrub grass and pine trees of Fort Benning, Georgia. At airborne school, you have no rank. You take your rank off because the drill sergeants are there to treat everybody the same. Whether you're an enlisted officer, E1 or O5, doesn't matter. You're there to be taught the great skill of being able to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. It's 3 weeks long. The first week is just on the ground, basic stuff, really getting into your head about do exactly what the drill sergeant, or in this case would be the jump master, will tell you to do, so you don't hesitate in the jump door. So I was fresh out of college, and of course, as I said, I played a couple years for football, and I kept up on the weights and things like that. So the drill sergeant he was tough, really tough. He also had just returned from Vietnam a few years earlier. And his goal was to teach troops hard. He saw the debacle in Vietnam, and he wanted the troops that came out of his command to be the strongest. So in formation, again, he doesn't know officers he does, but you don't have the rank on. And he would say, something messed up, one of the troops, everybody drop and give me 10. So of course you drop down and give 10 push-ups. I do it with one hand because I could, right? Big boy. Oh, we got a show off here. Yeah. Layman. Yeah, okay, well, since you are so damn such a show off, how about you give me another 10? Absolutely, drill sergeant, love to pump out another 10. Oh, you still got a little, I'd stand back up at attention. You got a little smirk on your face there, Layman. How about give me another 10? I said, well, he said, this time use two arms like you're supposed to. I said, drill sergeant, will you accommodate me and sit on my back while I do two hands? So he and I got along great, just kind of the push and pull of understanding what it was like to, just that camaraderie in the military. I loved it. And, just growing up in rural Alabama and working together, blacks, whites, we didn't see color. It just didn't matter. Football, what? We're talking about tight ends and linebackers. We're not talking about blacks or whites. The military, exactly the same thing. It's a team. And I think that's one of the fundamental things I've learned growing up as well, is that that diversity of people who want to excel. Doesn't matter what color you are, where you came from. It's a matter of building the best team, and that's America, right? It's a team, and we got to get back to that. I just despise this segmentation that goes on and how the liberals want to classify people. We're Americans. What I learned as an athlete at University of Alabama under Coach Bryant was the giving your all. Every play, every time you're in the weight room, every time you're in film room, dedicate yourself to being the absolute best that you can be as part of the team. Put everything into it that you have in order to be the absolute best you are, and that applies in life. Hard work. Treat others the way that you want to be treated. Give back 10% of your net income, but also just a hand up to help others when you can. If you've been given, then you've got to give. I think also one of those values is to protect others. It doesn't mean jumping in every day, but there are times when you see that disadvantaged person on a school bus getting bullied a little bit. You can't sit back. You got to go help when you can. Those core values and principles going into the U.S. Senate is self-sufficiency, hard work, and getting out of the way of the progress of allowing people to do hard work. We can't have this constant big brother government to help. That's not going to allow us to be the strength and the powerful nation that we can be to help our own. To help Americans when Communist Chinese Party is stealing our jobs, our manufacturing, our intellectual property. People who want jobs. They don't want to flip hamburgers. They want to work with their hands. They want to be in a factory building things. That is egregious to me that American politicians and companies have sold out for the dollar to Communist Chinese Party. I intend to do everything I humanly possibly can to bring back manufacturing to this country. I cannot stand by and watch other countries who do not have to play by those reasonable rules dump their low-cost crap into this country against the American worker and American company who has to live by those rules. Absolutely unfair, and I cannot stand by and watch that happen. I must help my fellow Americans in that regard. One of those values and beliefs to take the U.S. Senate is self-sufficiency. This idea that the government can be end all to everyone has got to stop. It is a core part of America that is making us less strong and less powerful and less independent. And I will do everything I can in this country to have policies that grow the American economy, to allow Americans who want to improve themselves and have a better job can do so. But this thing about the safety net and using taxpayer money for people who can work must end. I am very hard on that. If you can work in this country, you need to work. It may not be the best job out there, but it's a starter job and you got to work your way up through hard work, not depend on the government. At the same time, the government's got to get the hell out of the way for the American worker and American business and allow them to produce the jobs that we can. My view of rules in business and success and sports, etc., it's always about the team. You must have a strong strategy. You must have strong leadership. And then it's all about the people that you bring onto that team. You've got to mentor them. You've got to give them every opportunity for success. You've got to listen to them and then the force of one person is very small. When you amplify that by your team pulling in the same direction, that they feel a part of that mission, they feel a part of that success, then you're going to do great things. And I've been very blessed in companies. I will never ask anyone to do anything I wouldn't do. I'll work as hard as anyone on the team. But to sit down and back and forth and be able to listen to me and me to them, and then it won't be 100% of what any of us want, but it becomes a very strong strategic goal and tactics of how we're going to become the best in our business, as Coach Bryant would always preach. Don't go for the win. Don't go for that one customer. Don't go for the Southeastern Conference by having a group of guys. Be the best in the industry, and when you do, the customers will come to you. We focus very heavily in the company I built here in Arizona 8 years ago. Became a $1 billion company because of a great team and that strategy and working together. And we had some core principles of giving back. 10% of our net income went to the most needy across all the projects here in Arizona and around the country that we worked on. We also had a hire veterans first policy. Now, when I sold the company in December of 2021, we had a payroll of 1,750 jobs created around this country, including our subcontractors, our manufacturers, and our team. 22% of those are veterans. In our society, and American citizens, about 5% are serving or veterans in our populace. 4 times that national average because it was the right thing to do. Now, we got it back in productivity and strength, but it's the right thing to do. And then lastly was, in an industry, I came from coal and gas industry and brought a coal and gas team into renewable, into large scale, big utility solar industry. And we said from day one, we're going to buy American. It was very hard to do in the initial years. There just wasn't an industry here that had been built, but being in part because of what we did. Vendors of American manufacturers stood up and we were giving them orders and they were able to do more. And we grew a lot of that industry based on our orders. My competitors, they were buying typically the least expensive item out there, often from China. And over time, we worked hard for American supply. And I'm very proud to say that we got that number down to 5% from China. 95% of the goods and services that we bought came from America or North America or Europe. 75% was good old USA, by far the leader in the industry. One of the biggest things I learned in business and in life is do the right thing even when it's hard. People notice. If you're the leader of your company, if you're the leader of your team, people notice. How do you react when the times are tough? Do you take the blame or do you blame someone on your team? My goal has always been to take the blame and give the credit. So as a leader, building consensus of the team is get it all out, be honest, be open, get around the table. Every team is built on making sure everyone on that team has their input, that they buy in, so that it's not leaving the room and saying, well, I didn't really agree with that. We're going to stay in that room. We're going to stay around that discussion until we get consensus. And it doesn't mean finding the average position. It means finding the excellence of our goal, and then how will we achieve that together. It's not a matter of going to the lowest common denominator. It's finding the highest common denominator that we can all work toward to achieve. In the Senate, consensus, I think in many cases has been some of our downfall. We've tried to dumb down. We've tried to find the least common denominator. I intend to bring leadership that says this is America. We're going to find the highest common denominator that we can work to for the American people and the American taxpayer, the American citizen. No longer can we find, well, I'll give you this if you give me that. This has all got to get back to what's right for the American people. Not what's right for the lobbyists, not what's right for the PAC leaders, which I am not taking those dollars. I am pure for the people of Arizona and America with my money in this campaign and theirs. I want to go there and be a leader for the American worker, for the American taxpayer, American citizen that says, because I am looking for the best solution for you. It may be the opposite of what's best for Washington, so be it. And in that consensus building, I intend to be tough. We're built on a constitution. That constitution doesn't say the government is everything to everyone. To me, that's the strategy of the American government. Just like in business, you have a strategy to be the best in that industry. We already have the strategy for this country, and that's called the U.S. Constitution Bill of Rights. That, to me, is everything evolves around that in that strategy. You don't get to bring in things into that meeting that aren't part of the strategy. To me, we've gotten so far away from that, it's insane. Some of the ways that I want to work to get Arizona's agenda through the U.S. Senate, and again, I'm very open with the people of Arizona, as I call it, the contract with Arizona. It's on our website. It's bold. And I've told them it's going to be tough. There's going to be some days that are going to be tough to listen to because we've gotten so far away from the U.S. Constitution and the things that are what the citizens of this country, not the lobbyists, want. But I'm going to call it out. If I need to be very tough, I intend to be. I think the people in other senators in D.C., many of them have strayed from being statesmen. I'm a businessman. I'm a veteran. I'm a hands-on guy. I understand what's going on at the grassroots level in this country, and I intend to be that fighter. Now, some will say, well, Jim, that's not quite consensus enough. Well, it may take a while. We may have to embarrass some people as senators that are not behind closed doors what they are in public. I'm going to call it out because I'm not going to change. I don't say one thing in the primary, another in general U.S. Senate. I am what you see in my policies and out when we're talking to the great people of Arizona. And that's what I intend to deliver. I am not saying one thing in the primary, another in the general, another in the U.S. Senate. What you see is what you're going to get. It's going to be bold. It's going to be harsh. I'm not going there to be cute on Fox and CNN or things like that. I'm going there because of the American citizen. The people of Arizona need to be represented with toughness, with boldness, and with U.S. constitutional values. Not lobbyists, not PACs, not things that aren't core principled in the U.S. Constitution. There's been way too much compromise of American values, of the American Constitution principles. I'm not going to do that. If I have to stand tall, shut down the business of the Senate in any way possible, for example, to secure the southern border, done. I'm not going there to have more of the same. This is about moving this country back to the U.S. Constitution, getting the federal government out of our lives on a daily basis. U.S. Constitution is my principal guidebook. That's the strategy of this country. And that's what I will do everything I can, not just to uphold, but to keep people from tainting it or compromising it or subverting it. The federal government is going to see a significant downsize if I have anything to do with it in the U.S. Senate, and I intend to. I have a lot to do with it. It's gotten totally out of bounds of what its purview and what its mission is. I intend to be very hardcore in terms of the Constitution and what the federal government should and should not do. Not just what it should do, but what it should not do. So my point of that is not just all about consensus. It's going to be a lot of no's. I'm not doing this for the sake of a title or anything like that. I'm doing this because I fear for my country. I've sold my business. I've got a great life. I built $1 billion company here in Arizona and sold it. Life could be very easy. The beach, the mountains, travel, whatever. This is about our country. So I'm doing this on principle. I've even said it on the website and said it publicly many, many times. I will not take a salary from the taxpayer. I'll donate that salary to the most needy here in Arizona. I am not taking a pension. I don't need a pension. I'm not taking from the taxpayer the pension. I'm not taking lobbyist dollars. I am not taking PAC dollars. I will fund this myself and the great people of Arizona and this country who work every day to make this country better and provide for their families. I'm going there to represent them. Not outside interests, not other countries, not even people who lobby every day. This thing of Washington being one of the richest zip codes in our country, and they produce nothing as a product, tells me everything I need to know about that. Now, I'm a construction guy. I know how to operate construction equipment. One of the best pieces of equipment in the planet is a good old Caterpillar D9 dozer. Good visual for me, and I think about a lot on the campaign trail, is operating that D9 dozer, taking down the remaining part of the dam that holds back that water. Knock that dam down the rest of the way so that all of America can see those swamp creatures and watch them wither on the arid bottom of that swamp that is now looks like an Arizona desert. That's my vision. I'm a principle guy, right? I just don't look at life as what could go wrong. Let's look at every day, be the optimist. I'm a very optimistic person. What can I do to do good for others? What can I do to help? But also to make sure that I'm always self-sufficient. I'm not stressed for need because I've got a great God. I've got a great country. I'm going to bring stress to a lot of swamp creatures. I like giving stress to those who don't love this country as much as I do. One of the things I'm most proud of is that it founded and paying for the largest private voter registration project in this country. In Arizona, we started in January this year. By May, we had hit full stride. 25 full-time staff, 5 offices, and hundreds of volunteers across this beautiful state, registering conservatives. George Soros does that all cycle long. I like to learn some of the tactics of my enemy and reverse them on them. We've done that in Arizona, and I'm very proud to say that my team has moved from a thought and an idea to, as of May of last year, all the way through last month, numbers that we see from Secretary of State. We're out registering the Democrats 2-1. It's not all due to our team. Turning Point does some on campuses, but the team that I founded and paying for funding are out there in the heat of the summer in Arizona, on the sidewalks outside the post office, outside of Walmart, outside of all the places that good conservatives might be found. They're registering them there in the heat of 118-degree Arizona weather and doing a great job of it. You know, we're a leader in Arizona on the conservative cause. Look at the audit where we said we need to find out what truly went on in the election. We now look at it that we've got a lot of good things to pass in Arizona, tightening election laws to make them truly one vote for one American citizen. But it's also school choice. Now, we're a leader in the country with 40,000, quote, scholarships for those in Arizona, but we came within one vote of having 750,000 of those scholarships where students and their parents could decide where they wanted to go to school, that the dollars would follow the student in the state. I'm helping fund the primary to take out those who have voted against the kids. I feel a calling to do it. Every kid should have the best education possible. Their zip code should not determine their livelihood. The dollars that the taxpayers of Arizona put into education should be determined by the parent and the child which school they go to. I'm a product of public education. I'm all for it. Competition breeds greatness in this country. Let them go to whatever religious, homeschooling, charter, public school they want to go to. You know, since I've gotten into this Senate race, I've learned things like opensecrets.org, where you can actually see the giving of other candidates. I was shocked to find of the other contenders in this Republican race that over the last 5 years, they gave a grand total combined of $12,000. One of them is a millionaire, young millionaire. The others, 2 of them been in government service all their life. Surely they have a few dollars put away. Gave $12,000. That's it. And most of that little $12,000 was giving to himself. On the other hand, again, I've never been in politics. I've supported conservative causes. God knows I've never thought I would ever be running for political office, but I know we must replace Mark Kelly. Absolutely a calling. We must replace Mark Kelly. And I look at that, and under opensecrets.org, it goes on for pages and pages. Small print of how many line items per page of giving that myself and my company over the past years, millions to conservative causes and conservative candidates. We have such bountiful energy supplies in this country that we have it for our own needs. We just got to get a lot of these over zealous liberals out of the way, and we know how to do things cleanly in this country, and we will. I've been in business for over 30 years building power plants in this country. I know everything about the EPA and the rules and regulations. They're taking those rules and regulations and standing in the way of American industry because that's just their nature. They want to do it. They want to slow down America. I want to move America faster, greater jobs. So much so that the bountiful energy supplies, we have over 300 years of known natural gas supplies in this country, that we have enough for our own needs and enough that we could export. Now, when we export to other countries, we need to put a little excise tax on there that will come back into the American Treasury solely to pay down the debt that these sold-out politicians and lobbyists have burdened our children and grandchildren with. That is a core principle for me, to start not just balancing the budget, getting back within our means, but paying down that debt. And we can do it with that excise tax and with all the jobs generated under American manufacturing. Bring it back, onshoring. This supply chain crisis is man-made out of Washington, D.C., pure and simple. You put American business and American workers in charge of logistics and get Washington the hell out of the way, we'll solve that in 30 days. Those American jobs we re-onshore in this country are going to produce bountiful revenues. We're already sending $4 trillion to Washington. That's plenty. We're going to live within that and in everything I can do in the U.S. Senate. And after that, those taxes go part back to the taxpayer and part to pay down that national debt. The biggest threat to America today is the Communist Chinese Party. They have a very patient plan, 100-year plan. They publicize it. They're not unabashed about it. They want to rule the world, including America. They learned from the failures of the Soviet Union that you're not going to take on America on a battlefield. Now, they're doing their damnedest to subvert the military, as we can see with Austin and Milley and Biden and Mark Kelly, those woke guys. But their patient plan of taking over our media, our schools, now the politicians, moving now into the military, very apparent. In business, I've been to China in the early years of my career and seen how they operate. They've taken our U.S. trade deficit where we've sold out, politicians sold out manufacturing in this country. And companies, corporations have sold out American manufacturing just to make another dollar, not give a damn about the American worker and taxpayer. They've used that trade deficit to finance their subversion of this country in all of those means and all those institutions I just named. My goal is to call it like it is. The Communist Chinese Party is not an adversary. They are an enemy of this country. One of the things I'm so optimistic about in this race is American greatness. Just like the liberal, Marxist, Democrats, whatever you want to call them, have moved this country radically in their direction, we have a very core document in this country called the Constitution. And it tells us, it's different than anything else in the world. It tells us what the federal government is supposed to do and not to do. My view is optimistically, we just have to get back to that core strategy. It's the law of the land. It's the foundation of this country. So we already have that spelled out. You just need someone with the guts, the tenacity, the principled nature, and not be sold out to the lobbyists and the PAC donors in order to go make that happen. I'm extremely optimistic for this country. We can bring American manufacturing back by leveling the playing field against foreigners who don't comply with American rules and dump their cheap crap here. Stop it. Easy. Just do it. Have the guts to go do it. Every day is another day, another opportunity to go do everything you can possibly do to improve your own life, your family, and your country, and your fellow citizens. When Reagan came in after Carter, this country turned on a dime from pessimism to optimism. I'm no Reagan, but I intend the U.S. Senate to be the cheerleader for America. American greatness, American workers, and American taxpayers. I am one. I'm no elitist. I'm a guy who has been blessed to come up through this country and live the American dream. I want that. I will demand that for our children and grandchildren. Optimism, I'm going to be the shining light on the U.S. Senate floor. I'm going to be optimistic because all of those other guys they might as well fold now because the American people are coming back to take their country back.